No. Do I? No.
Just give up talking on the podcast.
You stress me out.
You stress me out.
Why?
I don't know.
You just stress me out.
You guys look great already. You don't. Like I said, I have a list of 15 questions that we'll choose from. You don't know what the question is, though. That's the fun part. And
Right, we're gonna be like,
Cut it out if it's really bad.
oh, I will.
skip
Here.
over us.
How about let's make a deal? If you don't like what it was like by the end of it, you'll watch me delete the footage.
Okay.
Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Lovely. Let me come and join you down here then.
join us on our
I
blanket.
will, I will. You guys are sweet and hospitable. All right. Make sure we can see ourselves. My goodness, that sun is bright. But that's okay. How does that look? That looks, I think, amazing for all of us. Let me learn your names first. You are
Tamara.
Tamara. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And you are
Josie.
Josie. I was gonna guess Josie.
Oh, really?
No.
No.
I'm not that good. Josie and Tamara. My name is Binyam.
Binyam.
Nice to meet you both. Do you guys do this often?
No.
No, this is like, this is like picture worthy, as you were doing before. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. How long does your friendship been? Yeah.
5 years. 5 years. We met in college.
In college?
Yeah.
Which program?
I'm in teaching.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
she's
Paramedic.
Yeah.
Oh, no way. So
Yeah.
totally diverse.
We played volleyball together at college.
Oh, and so the friendship has gone on beyond college. It seems in college is when you meet some of your like longest standing friendships, eh?
Yeah. I feel like you're kind of sort of an adult by then. Not really, but you
Yeah.
kind of know who you are a bit. And those
You're well
friends
on the way,
last.
for sure. All right, so let me choose a number. No, I'll have you guys choose a number. Tamara, a number between 1 and 16.
12.
Ooh, okay. Number 12. This is an interesting one.
Oh, great.
Can one be a better version of themselves without integrity?
I don't think so. I
No.
think that's what makes you the best version of you, is being.
What is it about integrity that makes one a better version of themselves, though? Okay, we should probably back up and talk about integrity and what does it mean in the first place to us?
It's like, I think it's like a set of personal morals and like who you want to be and what boundaries you're willing to have and not willing to cross, kind of thing.
It's Josie, right? And you were concerned about not knowing what to say? Goodness, like...
Let me just nail this answer.
I'm just guessing. That's what I think.
Okay, say it again. It was well put.
I don't know if I can say it again.
Yeah, I'll remind you. A personal set of...
A personal set of like morals and boundaries of what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do.
I like it. You agree, darling?
I do agree. Yeah, I do.
I like that. That's a good starting place. So then, you're saying there's no other way for a person to grow into something better than what they are without this component of integrity.
I mean, I think your integrity might change as you change as a person, but that's the same thing as your values and morals, right? You kind of have to develop that over time.
Yeah.
But I think you still always need integrity to be the best version of you.
Gotcha. I was thinking about another component, if I may share it. So there's the personal set of values, yes, but then there's also actually doing it, right? Like doing it as well,
Yes.
right?
More than just words.
Right.
We try, but sometimes we don't always have the actions for it.
Is that a fair thing to include in this definition we're working on for integrity then? Like not only having the values, but also doing them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What happens then if a person is haphazard or infrequent in their expression of integrity? Does that change the ball game for them trying to be a better version of themselves?
I think you kind of lose integrity if you don't uphold it, right? Like, especially if you say you're going to do something
Yeah.
and then you don't. That
Yeah.
is the whole point of integrity,
Gotcha.
right? Like, if you're going against what you said, then what integrity do you hold?
Uh-huh.
Unless you realize that maybe that's not what you align yourself with, and then you need to change. But I think there's something that's respectable about that in
Yeah.
itself, even if you weren't true to what you wanted to be or who you were. I don't know.
I like that.
I
No,
think
that's
that's I think people change, and sometimes you learn things about yourself the hard way, and can't live up to what you thought, and you grow. So I think, yeah. I forget what the initial question was. I got carried away, but
I think you hit it. No, I was thinking, well, the initial question was like, can one be a better version of themselves without integrity? And I was thinking about, I think you shared it, Tamara, how we change over time, right?
Yeah.
And how I think for the longest time I grew up with a certain set of values that I thought this is always like the way it's got to be for everyone. So I was almost imposing it for everyone around me. And I'm in a totally different place now, but I really have come to appreciate the place that change takes for all of us, right? So now, what happens then if you're interacting with someone who has a different set of values that they're consistent with that you don't agree with? What does your perception of their integrity look like?
I think it's just like a general respect for other people. Like you can have integrity in yourself and what you believe in, but continuing that integrity also is respecting other people's version of that.
I like that. Yeah.
I don't know.
yeah, I think so. I think as well, just because you guys don't see eye to eye doesn't mean that you don't appreciate that they are true to what they believe in, kind of thing. There's respect in that too.
Mm-hmm. Which is easier said than done.
Yeah, it's a lot easier said than done.
What goes into like restraining yourself when you're interacting with different values? What happens inside for you when you're like, oh, I don't know if I can go with you there,
turning on the inside, like keep your cool.
Yeah.
I guess it's just like if somebody doesn't agree with yours, and you know how terrible that feels when somebody tries to strip away what you believe in. So it's you kind of take that self-thought of, okay, I don't agree with that, and that's not how I choose to live my life, but I'm not going to go against you, kind of thing. It's your life to live.
Exactly. And there's a lot of people, like, you're not going to get along with everyone, you're not going to agree, but that's why you have other people, and they have their people that they agree with, and that doesn't mean you can't all get along when you need to, but that's why it's good that we're so diverse, and
absolutely.
Everyone can
I
be
have
who
a
they
better
want to
tan
be.
than you guys, and sorry. Moving on.
Yep.
Jeez. All right. Let me press a little further, if I may.
Okay.
With these set of values, are there some values that a person can consistently live by in the pursuit of integrity that you say actually that disqualifies you from it, that definition of integrity?
A set of values.
Yeah, so like we're talking about values that a person personally has. So for example, how about if my form of integrity, and I'm just going to choose a really blatantly like distasteful one, if I believe it's okay to like rip people apart in my criticism of them, they need to know the truth kind of thing, and I'm going to rip them apart regardless of their sense of their identity or whatever. And I'm like, that's my form of integrity. Are there like certain expressions of values that are like, actually that's not a really good form of integrity, even though that's a value you're holding to?
I think integrity always goes along with other things like respect and
so
just caring for other people. Like you might think they deserve to know or they need to do that right, but you still have to respect them as a person. And maybe they are in the wrong, but that's not up for you to decide and to rip them apart for, right? Like they need to do that self-realization that maybe I was wrong and maybe my integrity was compromised, but who am I to say that it is?
So I'm hearing in your core components of integrity the essence of respect and self-awareness.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Not
just even with my job, like
yeah.
I see all kinds of people in all kinds of situations, and a lot of times they don't agree with their life choices or the things they say or do, but I have to just look past that and think like they're still a person and they need help and they need me.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to judge them. I'm just going to help them get to that spot.
Mm-hmm. So what are some suggestions you would throw in there for like, if it's not integrity unless you have this?
Well, we already said, what did we say?
Respect,
self-awareness. Honesty.
Yeah.
I think honesty is important. Honesty can hurt, but I think dishonesty is still worse. Truth hurts, but hurts less in some kind of way. I think also if, just going off your example of the going up to someone or ripping them apart, I think I wouldn't say that's, like I would say that is distasteful and that's not a good thing, but unless they were asking about what you think or what your values are, then it's kind of like an open conversation, and then there's that respect there, and you can voice maybe your difference of opinion. But until then, I don't think you should do that. Like it has to be a conversation, and then I think, sure, you can voice your difference of opinion. But,
Sure.
yeah.
Like education moral-wise, like I don't think you should have ripped that person apart, but I understand where you're coming from. Maybe next time when you feel that urge of they should know what they're doing, maybe just sit back and think
And
they
this
might
is
have...
where I'm coming from too.
Yeah.
Like it kind of invites, like, at our core, like, we all grow up differently, we all have different lives, so we're gonna think differently, and there's a lot of good in that, as long as you're kind to one another and respectful about voicing that and how you live your life, I think.
And you never know what somebody's going through, so you could think they shouldn't be doing that, but you don't know what people are going through on a day-to-day basis. So I think that's just back to the self-awareness kind of.
I'm having a great time here. Just
Just
so you know.
off all
Like,
these
I don't
things,
know
and
what
you're
I'm
like,
talking about.
what are you talking about? They're on this, like,
I had
trail.
no. I'm just acknowledging again the. You had no idea what's in front of you when I first made the proposal, right? I know.
I don't know what to talk about or not.
It's a courageous thing, but here you are.
Here we are, we're trying our best. That's all you can do.
You're doing
We're
amazing.
still learning ourselves. I'm learning every day.
Yeah, you're either winning or you're learning.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're winning and learning, but usually,
Usually
you're
you're
winning or you're learning.
I'm gonna segue a little bit,
Okay,
so don't start sweating on me.
too late.
All right, so the specific focus of my podcast is for young men, inspiring them towards integrity. In general, from your observations and experiences, do you feel young men are nailing it in the sphere of integrity, or do you feel young men in general are finding significant challenges to overcome?
I think they're finding challenges.
That's a good way of putting it.
I think they are finding. Well, we can't just say that.
No,
A lot of-
No, I am speaking in general, yeah, just generally. Bird's eye view.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, from
yes.
experience, everybody
Yeah.
has different experiences.
Sure.
I think it's a tough world out there today, like with the guys
It's
our
really hard
age.
to be a man.
It is hard to be a man. I mean, it's hard to be anybody, but there's a lot of pressure on a lot of things, and I think integrity, honestly, has been lost over the last couple of years, just with so many changing things and pressures and society and everything. But I wouldn't say they're nailing it, but I don't think anybody's nailing it nowadays. So we can't say it's just men.
We won't put him down,
Yeah.
but
Point.
keep working on it, young men
We
out
believe
there.
in you.
Keep doing it.
Love it.
You're getting there. As long as you're trying, you're on the right path.
Okay, let me amalgamate my next 2 or 3 questions into one and see if you guys can touch on them in like how I feel comfortable. On the one hand, there's a challenge for young men culturally, where culture perhaps doesn't make it easy for them to express or live or pursue integrity. What does that look like? What could culture consider doing better in facilitating a space for young men to at least start approaching it? Secondly, what are the specific areas that you see them struggling in that lack of integrity? And then finally, if they were to come to you guys and say, Josie, Tamara, we want to see more integrity in your lives, but we have not a clue where to even start thinking about it, what are some helpful suggestions you guys would bring to their
It's a
consideration?
loaded question.
It
There's a
is.
lot in there.
And I like the approach here, again, like this is from your perspectives and experiences, and that's something that's unassailable, right?
That's all we can give you.
Absolutely, yeah, that's why I appreciate it. Because, I mean, you have
Yeah.
however many couple decades in, of observation and lessons along the way.
I mean, I think from us, it needs to be taken with a grain of salt,
Right.
especially even between us. We were both raised differently and have different experiences with men and stuff like that. So I think that's a big challenge too, like culturally, like you were saying. It's so dependent on a lot of things, but I think just maybe not to get sucked into the current society and the current culture of what it is today with social media and I don't even know how to say, like, dating apps and stuff. Like, I think those are all helpful things, but I find maybe that's where men lose some of their integrity when it's it's easy. It's tempting, you know. You don't need to have integrity necessarily to get what you want. But then you have to think deep down, is that what you really want in the long term? It's like, how did you get there? And how is that going to last? So
if I can tease out what you're saying there, you're saying, no, correct me if I'm wrong, when there is an element of anonymity, perhaps, it's easier for them to cut corners, but that still sows itself in their deeper character of who they truly are, which lacks integrity. Is that what you're saying?
yeah,
Everybody can take shortcuts these days.
Yeah.
I find it's almost worse that everything is so easy for us because you don't learn the lessons in working hard and waiting. I think we're very impatient people. I'm so impatient, and I think that plays with integrity because you learn just how to be a good person. You learn those morals from waiting and working hard for something. So I think the culture of the world we live in, or even here, everything, we have really good lives here, and like I think everyone's grateful for that, but they don't see how we've lost some things along the way, I think.
I think so. Like the
Do you agree?
old-fashioned. I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of an old soul that way.
Easy isn't always better.
No.
It is like
Initially.
great for us now, but we need to take into consideration what we were missing out on, and I think a lot of those lessons. What was your other question? I thought I had something, and then
That's okay.
I forget it.
So the three parts there are: one, how could society make it easier for men? Second,
right.
how could what are those specific areas that men struggle? And then thirdly, what would you guys say specifically to young men who are coming to you and saying, we'd like to do better, but we don't know where to start?
I think how society could make it better for men. I actually think it's a men's challenge, but it's also for women. Like, it's the same grain of salt for, it's easy for a man to go out there and swipe, but it's the same for women. We're putting ourselves out there to make it easy for that. So I think if a man was asking, what could you do to make it easier for me, is for us also to have integrity and to challenge them, to make them have integrity.
Have higher expectations for them.
Yeah.
That you have for yourself.
Expect them to have.
Enable
Yeah.
just like minimum effort, you know, expect more.
Yeah.
And even just this whole new movement of men's mental health, making it a safe place for men to talk about what they're struggling with, I think is huge too, because if you're so afraid to talk about what you're struggling with, then you're just going to keep it in, and then you're not going to work on it. And I think that's another thing that we could do as a society, is just open it up more to have those conversations and encourage it.
I don't know what I would say to men if they were like,
I would say just be honest with yourself, be honest with
what you want.
what you're doing. Like, I feel like so many people, they do things and they almost disassociate. Like, they don't think that's them. They're just living in this body. They're not even considering their actions. And so if you're honest with yourself, with other people, I'm big on honesty, clearly.
I couldn't tell. In fact, I was going to ask you to be more passionate just because I'm missing the point here. Okay,
I've lost my train
let
of
me
thought,
press
but-
you a little further on that, Tamara.
Okay.
It sounds simple to say, just be honest, but then
Yeah.
there are elements that make being honest challenging. Because it's a vulnerable thing to say, hey, I'm going to give you access to what's on the inside here, and I'm going to speak to you straight up. And from what I've watched, a lot of men say they've tried the honesty track, but then got ripped up because that showed weakness and vulnerability, in which they respond saying, all right, no more. I'm going to be that stoic. I'm going to be that hard ass.
Being
Yeah.
ripped up as per what you say, that's not it feels terrible, but it's not a bad thing. And I think that's what we're missing as a society. It's as soon as something hurts, or as soon as something isn't easy or doesn't go our way, it's like, well, it's easier for me to not be the nice guy. Like, you hear the nice guys finish last. Yeah, it's painful if you get rejected or your integrity is challenged. But really, that's going to make you stronger. That's going to minimize the people that you don't want in your life. Maybe you got rejected by a girl of your dreams, but she's not the girl that's for you, right? So I feel like you have to go through the hard to find the good. And that's
maturing.
Yeah.
That's how you mature.
That's part of the process that we're missing nowadays because everything's so easy. So, oh, she rejected me, so I'll just go on to the next and on to the next. And that's where you're losing your integrity of a person, like where your morals are. It's like, do you really want to be that person? Or do you want to find the person for you? And that's not always going to be easy. But you don't want easy. It is worth it. Yeah.
I rarely go personal.
Oh, God. Don't go
So I value the no answer or off limits if it is, because that's really an important part of consent. In your line of work in paramedics, how do you guard yourself from being cynical or disillusioned given the day in, day out commitments you have to make and the ways you have to? Again, feel free to say, rain check.
I think you have to have passions and things that you enjoy. You have to turn your work mind off.
Oh, I see.
Because you always hear like people in those industries like
Sure.
dark humor, and that's just how we survive.
Sure.
You can get caught up in that, but I find for me is I need work, and then I need my life away from work, and I need to find what I'm passionate about and get back to myself, and that keeps me honest and kind. Keeps me away from that a little bit, but it is hard. You see a lot of things and you try to harden yourself to them so they don't bother you, but you got to let them bother you. You got to say that call was not good, or I'm struggling. And it's the same thing with men. Like, you got to be able to be open about it and be supported.
Yeah, I think there are supports out there. It's just putting yourself out there to say I need help is hard. And obviously it's harder for men because they're not supposed to need help. They're supposed to, yeah. But I don't know. I think it's the toughest thing to ask for help. So I don't understand what this if you ask for help, you're not tough. It's like, that was pretty tough.
Yeah.
I need help. That's vulnerable and that's hard. That's the hardest thing you can do. So I think we got it wrong. Someone got it wrong there.
One of the biggest paradoxes I really enjoy talking about is how strength is really showed in weakness, or the expression or openness to being like it's not a hard thing to say I'm going to hide my weakness. It's a harder thing to say I'm actually going to like walk with my weakness and put that on display, because all of a sudden it is vulnerable, but therein is like true courage, it seems to me.
My favorite quote ever,
Do tell. Do tell.
I must tell you, is that there's no growth in the comfort zone. There is no growth.
That's a good
I
point.
love it. Yeah, I'm a teacher, so I try
Yeah.
bring that to my classroom every day. But
Huh.
you got to be uncomfortable if you want to grow and evolve as a person, and it starts with putting yourself out there and being vulnerable. Like, learning is like the most vulnerable you can be, and I don't know, I think.
What grades do you teach?
Well, I just graduated, so I'm moving to Guadalajara, Mexico to teach elementary. I don't know what grade yet.
Why did you choose there?
I wanted to be around a different culture. I'm trying to learn Spanish. I just wanted to be immersed in something different, and I thought that it would really help my teaching here if I come back. I just want, it's like my dream to teach all over the world and maybe build a school somewhere. I don't know.
I did not see that coming, Tamara.
Really?
Seriously. Well, I mean, that commitment. And of course, Josie approves of her friend leaving.
She's a
and
little sad. That's why we're having the picnic.
It's our last day together before she leaves.
And you let me interrupt it. This is so special. Oh my goodness.
Well, I can only add.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hope so.
we're open. It's good to say yes to things.
We're about 10% of our way through the interview. Just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm
be here
kidding.
all night.
I'm kidding. No. Last question. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Why are you doing this?
Just gonna ask that. Why are you doing this? What's this?
I'm interested in this podcast.
Okay.
Why you wanted to pursue this? There's got to be something that triggered it. Or
I'm happy to share with you.
please share.
Before I do, can I hear your stories of why you think?
Of why we think you started?
Yeah, or why am I doing this? This will be fun.
I feel like you've noticed the integrity in men has been not what it used to be, or
Why should I care?
because you're a man.
Oh, okay. Thanks for observing.
If that's
I know.
how you identify.
I do, yes. Yes.
I think it's important,
Yeah,
just in general
Sure.
for men and women. Integrity is important, and I feel like it is starting to be a lost art.
Sorry, interesting. Okay.
I think, I don't know. Maybe you've been burned before and you're like, know what? There needs to be more integrity in this place. I'm going to look into why there's not. I feel like oftentimes something happens and then, like, obviously you care about it, like we care about it and we've noticed it, but to actually want to do something about it, sometimes there's something else that's big push.
So my forte is not approaching strangers and just initiating conversations.
Is it not?
No.
Really?
Wow.
Seriously.
I would not have guessed that.
So those who know me well for many years would say my superpower is connecting with people. So that's great. But I usually do really well in that zone because there's predetermined reason for why we're connecting. Either work-wise or friends-wise or whatever, you know. You and I didn't have any connection beforehand. So this is like really foreign for me. But I do this because, and I do face this insecurity and lack of ease because, one, I really believe in the message, yes. And then secondly, it's also because I know by experience what it's like to have lived without integrity for decades. Personally, yeah. So I know what it's like to, I remember the first time I moved to this country when I was 8 years old. The first few years were spent sort of on the periphery socially, trying to find a segue in, to be part of, to be one of. I eventually got there. And then from then on, I just kind of honed in and accentuated my skills so that I could do this really amazing thing of connecting. But I think I always knew there was a disconnect because I learned the culture's way of not being vulnerable. You were saying honesty is a huge part. Yeah. I picked up on that culturally to say, if you are going to share what's going on underneath here, you are going to get burned. You are going to get hurt. And learning how to cover that up because there was a huge fear element to say, if people actually knew who I was, what my thoughts are, what my desires or ambitions or anything like that is like, then they're going to want to disconnect from me. And of course, being social, we want to have a space to be a part of and loved and all that. So I learned how to speak the language, how to act the parts, but it never resonated with who I truly was. Doing this over a span of years, you start seeing that ball rolling down the hill and getting larger and larger of dishonesty. Dishonesty was a huge one for me, right? Dishonesty at the very core of it. And so you start seeing yourself getting further and further away from actually knowing who you truly are and what you stand for and what makes sense for you. Living codependently as well, I mastered knowing how to read other people and saying, here's what they expect from me and what. So I was excellent in so many things. I really did. Yeah. And then eventually got to a point where seeing the casualty that was at that point in time, this is a few years back now, it was great. I'd built this up to such a place, and looking at myself, I was like, I actually don't like who I've become, even though it seems like totally presentable, but it's not honest. And those who feel like they've really connected and know me well, and this is, I mean, I was in a very influential career, had a lot of people's trust. Yeah, I'd gone a long way that way, but I knew that I wasn't being kind to them to keep on facilitating this. And so there was a tipping point where the desire for integrity for me personally overweighed for the first time that fear factor of all that I'm going to lose as a result of it. And there was a lot that I was going to lose. So I went through that threshold. And yeah, everything that I feared happened. You know, I lost basically everything. But what I did gain was at least a starting point for, I think I'm starting to know who I am. And it's still a process. In the last few years, it's just been an investment of saying, who is Binyam? What does Binyam like? What does Binyam believe in? What do I value? Like all these really important conversations. And then come now to this point. A couple years back, I had you'll find on my channels if you go and explore like my past content, and it kind of took off in a beautiful way, but I did not know why. But I took a year off the last year and a half or so, and I was just trying to figure out what is it that people resonate with when they watch my content. And then it came down to, I think, at the very heart of it, I connected in a beautiful way with people. Yeah. But there's something more to that. It's just not great conversations. It's more like intentions. What are the intentions we approach each other with? How do we make each other feel in the midst of those? How do we have an exchange? Like, for example, I know you guys way better than when I first approached you. That was intimacy there. That's intimacy over the last half an hour. So much for 5 minutes, right? I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I didn't realize.
Nonetheless,
Time flies. You're having
indeed.
fun.
But it's a beautiful exchange that happens. And then I remembered what it was like when I was trying to figure it out for a long time as a young man, having experience, trying to figure it out. And that's why I do what I do now, to face this real big discomfort in approaching people. Because you know what it's like when you get a telemarketer, you're like, I don't have time, so sorry, you know.
Yeah.
Or when someone approaches you, you're like, what do you want out of me?
What do
kind of
you
thing.
want?
Yeah, what do you want?
What am I gonna have to do?
Exactly. It's kind
You
of
came
like
over and I was like, what is integrity? I don't even remember what integrity is. I'm stressed.
it's huge, right? But yeah, that's why it's important. And I do a lot of talks on this theme, specifically on integrity. But then I also like collaborating with others at random and saying, let's make this fun and give a bit more of an entertaining yet informative way of accessing this topic.
Where
Yeah.
are you from?
Originally?
Yeah.
From China.
Really?
No. I'm so sorry, darling.
Okay.
Let's make this fun. Guess the continent first. It starts with an A, ends with an A. Nicely done. I was going to say there's so many to choose from, but. And then the country, if your geography is good, it starts with an E. It's not Egypt. And I'm not telling you it's Ethiopia.
It's Ethiopia. I was confused. I thought you said it's not Ethiopia.
I was saying that
trying
too.
to go through my geography. Like I should know this.
I'm from Ethiopia.
Okay.
Once upon a time. Yeah.
So when did you move to Canada?
When I was 8 years old.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you've been here.
Quite some time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm assuming you're older than 8 now, so
Just
you've
a
been
wee
here
bit.
for a few years.
I am quite lengthened in age, yes. Yeah.
Very interesting.
This is-
Well, I wish you luck. With the
Thank
rest of it. Are you
you.
going to continue your interviews?
You know, my batteries are on the final tail end here.
We were the last ones.
You guys were. I changed my batteries over and I just had enough juice for one more.
Well, I hope that it was.
This was worthwhile.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Hopefully you're
Honestly.
you say that to everyone.
I don't. Actually, you know, I do.
You
But it's
do.
because, I'll tell you why though. You had no idea what to expect.
No idea.
And I'm going to be true to my promise. This is the point now where you get to decide. Shall we kibosh the footage?
No,
You guys
I
are
thought it
comfortable?
went well.
Excellent.
There was
Good.
a few times
Just
we
a
were
good
like,
Not all of them. We're like, I don't know.
me and you look at each other like.
There's this interesting. No, that's the thing though. The beauty about that is there's the candidness of the moment. On my previous content that I was posting, I came across so many terms that I had to learn. One of the most beautiful ones I came to like really resonate with was seeing the comment that said, "This passes the vibe check test." I'm like, that's a really good way of putting it.
You're like,
So, yeah, I know. I was like, okay. But in essence, you know, like when viewers watch content and consume it, there's a way they can tell this is like staged versus,
Oh,
this
yeah,
is
you don't
authentic.
want staged.
Right,
Yeah,
and so I
what is
appreciate
your
that.
version of integrity? And then they're like, I
What-
think
Yeah.
whatever you just told me
This.
before this interview started. That's what it is.
No, there's something beautiful in this exchange, right? It's like in the moment, you had no idea. I had no idea what we were going to talk about. I love that. So I do say I have amazing ones just because I have an expectation of what it's going to look like. I know what we're going to talk about already, kind of. But I also like the in the moment evolution of it, and it's just a beautiful thing. It's
Yeah,
scary,
we
but
get going and going, and we're like,
Absolutely.
where even are
You're like,
we?
what are you talking about anymore?
Let's
I
go
don't know.
back
It's
to the
like,
question because I don't even remember.
Yeah,
it's
what did
also
you ask?
beautiful.
Well, it's been fun.
It has
I was a
been
little
amazing.
stressed at first. I was like, I don't
This
know.
is out of your comfort zone.
This is
But
definitely out of
look
my
at you stepping
I
into
know.
that. Well done.
I'm growing.
And again, consent is huge. That's why I was saying, if you're uncomfortable at the end of it, if you want to at
Yeah.
least go through it, let's watch this together as we cancel it. Which is not, it doesn't mean time wasted. I get lots of no's. And one of the things I've determined is the storyline that I believe when I get that feedback. No is a really hard thing to listen to until you reframe the scenario. Here's this person looking after themselves. Here's this person speaking to me honestly from the side. That's something to value, you know? Here's this person saying what they need to say, and it has nothing to reflect on me. It's not a rejection of any sort, right?
Yeah.
There's something beautiful about how you sort of like approach life that way and say, here's how I'm going to understand this, which resonates a lot more to the core values that we
Yeah, you can reframe anything to end up
you know, helping you
Yep.
in some way,
Yep.
learning
Absolutely.
from it. So, yeah.
Even if you'd said no, I'd be like, I really appreciate that. And it was just because, like, I like valuing the yeses as much as I do the nos. And one of these days, I'm going to do a whole string of nos that I got just to help my audience understand. Yeah, but even how to
There's a
respond to
spider
it.
on you.
Thank you, darling.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I had to get it. There was a spider on you. I would not let that go.
okay. Thank you for caring for me.
No! Did you get it?
I was like,
You got it though, didn't you?
I did.
Oh, I would never have forgiven you if
This
you
is
didn't
awesome.
get it.
Let me tell you where you can find these videos
Right,
online.
yes.
If you have your phones, I'll spell my name for you, and then feel free to follow along the way that way. And
Yeah, that's interesting.
pause this here.
On what?
On YouTube is where I post primarily, but I'm on TikTok and Instagram as well.
I don't.
That's okay. That's okay.
so old.
It's the vortex.
Okay.
So BIN.
B-I-N.
YAM ASRESS, and then find me somewhere along the way there. That's me. Oh, thank you, darling.
That's very
It's me.
I don't go on YouTube, so, but I will watch
That's
our
quite
video.
our time together will probably be featured in 2 weeks' time. I try to upload like one a day kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You have to edit it. I don't know how that works.
The editing, I don't do a lot of editing per se,
Yeah.
but I will, like for example, the one I just posted today, it was a wonderful one, but I didn't realize the camera angle was showing a girl's underpants, for example.
Oh no.
So I was like, oh crap. So I spent like hours today just trying to figure out how to like block that area off. And
Yeah.
So it worked well. Why did I mention that? Because you guys were fine. But yeah, it's just, I do one per day, and it's a really neat way of getting more people into the conversation.
Yeah.
So
That's cool. Well,
thank you for letting me take the primary sunlight hours. So I'm.
Oh, that's fine. It's okay. It's beautiful still.
It is. Oh, it's
so
lovely.
nice.
Last week I was out here doing this, and we got caught in the rainstorm.
Oh no.
It was an experience for sure.
Cold last weekend.
It was that too. It was.
Windy.
When do you head off for your trips?
July 30th, I leave. Yes.
Coming up very soon.
Yeah, very soon.
Kudos to you though.
Thank you.
Yeah, stepping into the unknown that way.
Yep. I don't know anyone in that city, so I'm gonna have to make friends.
Let me make a proposal. Write about who you are before you leave and how you understand yourself presently, and then contrast that with like 6 months in.
Wow. Yeah, I
And
should
saying,
do
"Oh,
that. I
here's
bet you
how
I
it
changed
shifted."
so much.
I imagine that would be something lovely
Yeah.
to reflect on. I don't do journals, but I envy those who have access to this sort of thing. So here's me being a hypocrite.
I
in
like
that way.
journals.
Oh, okay.
I like journals. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm excited now.
Josie, I hope I never see you in the course of your work. But I would
I'm
love.
also a firefighter, so.
Are you, darling? I could totally tell. Nonsense. Ladies, I hope to see you again along the way.
Yeah.
Thank you again for your time. Likewise.
Yeah, we'll be watching.
Okay.
See you.
Cheers. Thank you.